So this is the printer you've all been waiting for. I have no idea why. Oh yeah, the price tag, of course. This printer is £699 and on offer. This one is £375 and on offer. What's the difference? Well, about £300. Let's go. I think we all have to agree that Elegoo shocked us with this one. There's always a price expectation for a tier of a machine, and that had been set maybe 3 years ago. £200 to £400 for a bed slinger was considered reasonable. £500 to £1,000 for an enclosed printer. Add a couple hundred for an AMS or so. Creality was actually playing the same game. They were following suit, although their machines are probably not making as much margin based on the weight difference and the component count, but those were the rules. And then at some point last year, Elegoo announced a printer that seemed like an unspectacular entry into that market until they released the price. And then people started taking notice. So I think this is a clever move on Elegoo's part, but there's some mystery as to how they're doing this. And I think maybe we can solve some of that mystery here. Anyway, the models range from unenclosed up to enclosed with filament. There's only 2 models in the range, in fact, as far as I can tell. The rest are just bundle variations on the 2 models. You either go with an enclosure or you don't. And I think most people want the enclosure and the price differential isn't high enough. And do comment below if you did go with the unenclosed one. I will be interested to find out what made you do that. Other differences between models seem to be the max bed temperature and extra fans and the air filter. And a camera, which works fine, but I think you can only see it in the slicer or web interface. I'm not sure if there's actually an app for this. I haven't seen one. I haven't looked. The machine is the same size as a P1S and the same build plate as a P1S, give or take. In fact, you can actually fit a bamboo build plate in there pretty much. When I tried using it, though, the print did fail, and I don't know why. That may have just been complete coincidence, but prints haven't been failing generally, in fact, at all, apart from when I did that, so it's either a huge coincidence or there's a reason why you can't use bamboo build plates. That remains to be seen. I'll probably do some further testing unless someone knows and can comment and save me the time. Besides, Elegoo's own beds are as cheap as they come. The only real time you would be asking about compatibility with bamboo beds is because obviously those printers are much more popular and there's a lot more of them in the wild, and so when you get these bespoke build plates like this, you find that they are made for the bamboo form factor. But of course, if Elegoo actually make any of this machine available, if they make enough of them, that's been a problem in the past, that people have trouble getting hold of the printers. It was a kind of like a running joke with the Neptunes that they were great printers at great prices, but only if you could get one. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is if they do sell enough, then the build plates will be just as available because capitalism, basically. So it's very cheap and it looks fine. What is going on with this thing? It can't possibly be any good at that price. You would think that there will be compromises that make it, well, flawed. However, this is the thing. I can't really fault it at the moment. Unfortunately, one of the things I don't have on this printer is a total print timer. At least I haven't found one, so I can't show you how many hours I've been testing this printer for. It is a lot more than usual because, first of all, I'm highly suspicious of anything this cheap, but second of all, I've been using it as a no-nonsense workhorse for the demonstration pieces I've used in the last couple of non-reviews. Of course, the other thing it doesn't have, apart from a print timer, is, well, this is the worst spot the difference game ever. There's no AMS, but apparently that is a yet I will caution that making working AMSs is hard, making them work well is even harder, and it's entirely possible that there won't be an AMS, or it might be delayed. It certainly wouldn't be the first machine by a long way to promise an AMS and then not deliver one, or promise a multi-material solution and not deliver one. But Elegoo have promised it in Q3 this year. I think multicolour AMSs are overrated personally, and I think that actually the overwhelming majority of people do buy an AMS thinking they'll use it more than they do. They try it for a while and then they get fed up of the waste. But everyone's different. We'll see if the AMS happens or not, but if it's important to you, especially given the operating system of the machine being non-standard, we'll get onto that, I would wait until the AMS is out if the purchase of the machine literally depends on it. And that is a segue into talking about that, because what the heck operating system is this printer even running? It looks like Clipper on the face of it, and it's hard to believe that Elegoo would spend time rewriting a G-code interpreter and a web host and an API for the slicer. This is a lot of work, and that's probably why a lot of us reviewers and people in the community, we jumped to the conclusion that it must be some kind of Clipper, because we've seen this before with companies sort of not talking about Clipper but actually being Clipper. But in this case, I don't think it is. In fact, I'll go further and say I don't see how it can be. It looks like Clipper on the face of it, and it kind of feels like Clipper, but you can see what we call value engineering inside here, and that is not a bad thing if it's done correctly, because it keeps the price down. However, if it's done incorrectly, it introduces problems. The main board is, well, sparse. They've also kept the price down with a mains bed, meaning 24 volts doesn't require as much current, so you don't need as big a power supply, so that's cheaper. The simple fact is that until someone proves this machine runs Clipper, the chances are it doesn't, and that is evident from the board. Elegoo have said that it doesn't run Clipper. I don't see where you would hide it. To run Clipper, you would need more on the board than this. It's all very curious. I guess we'll get answers in the end, but for the moment, I just don't think it's running Clipper, and I don't know what it is running. I've got no problems with the print quality on the Centauri at all, and it's printed everything I've thrown at it so far, and that is actually quite a lot of different materials. PETG, polycarbonate, which is an unusual one for me, but I've been testing compliant mechanisms, as you know, TPU, ABS. I will say that the first layer is sometimes on the edge of what I'd consider okay, especially for the higher temperature materials like the polycarbonate, but I think part of the reason for this is because there's a just print without messing about for Age's first option that doesn't level the bed, but presumably uses the last version of the bed leveling. Of course, if you're doing this from cold, then you're going to be running a cold bed with leveling from a warm bed that hasn't expanded yet. And I think it's reasonable to say that a lot of what makes people think that printers these days that spend ages leveling first are more reliable is because that time is also functioning as a heat soak, which stabilizes everything inside the printer to do all of its expanding and moving around. And I think that's probably a lot of the reason why in the past leveling was such an issue compared to how it is now. Another interesting thing about the Centauri is that they've actually designed it to poop purge right from the start out of the back, whereas Creality made the K1 series without any purge functionality or any way to do it, and so the upgrade kit that they released later has to add that, and it poops in its own trousers, essentially. The fact the Elegoo poops and wipes and so on right from the start does make me think and believe that they are serious about the AMS and that it will happen sooner rather than later, or never. So I think that's probably all there is to say about the Elegoo Centauri. If you've bought one, then let me know in the comments. I don't think they are out in the wild yet, but if you have one, let me know. Also, if you're buying one, I'd appreciate if you could use the affiliate links in the description that do pay commission to help support what I do here. Also, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss some of the cool stuff I have coming up, because I really do have some cool stuff coming up. And with that, thank you for watching.